Over the last couple years, the SeaWorld Entertainment Company has been rapidly expanding their roller coaster portfolio. While their parks are no Cedar Point or Magic Mountain, every park has a decent lineup. I've been lucky enough to visit 4 of the 5 SeaWorld parks in America, and in this video I want to rank them based on their coaster collection. Let's get into it. Now before we get into the actual video, here's a quick disclaimer. This list will not include any of the Sesame Place parks or the Abu Dhabi park that is not yet opened. Also, you need to know that the only SeaWorld park I have not been to is SeaWorld San Diego. And one more thing, I'm going to include all the new for 2022 coasters even if they have not opened at the time of this video. With that being said, let's jump into the first park on the list. So coming in at the number 5 spot is SeaWorld San Diego. Trust me when I say this is not biased because I've never been to this park. You just have to look at their coaster lineup. It features a total of 5 roller coasters, including Emperor, the B&M dive coaster, Electric Eel, the Premier Skyrocket 2, Journey to Atlantis, a water coaster, Manta, a mock multi-launch coaster, and Tidal Twister, a skyline coaster. I guess now would be a great time to discuss the major duplicate coasters in the SeaWorld chain. For example, most parks have a Skyrocket 2. If every park has it, they could cancel each other out and don't affect this list. Obviously, there are certain cases where one park may not have one of these coasters, so while it might hurt its overall performance, other coasters within the park can pick up the slack. Moving back to SeaWorld San Diego, they feature one of these duplicate coasters. That would be Electric Eel. Because of that, it doesn't have an effect on the performance of this park. We could also say that Journey to Atlantis is one of those cloned rides. However, all 3 of these clones are very different. SeaWorld San Diego has the middle tier. And of course, there is the elephant in the room, Tidal Twister. Do we even consider this a roller coaster? I guess we have to because it's on RCDB. But the amount of time it's down, it can't give the park that many points. So when it comes down to it, there are really only 2 major impactful coasters. Emperor is the park's dive coaster. While it has not opened yet, it's sure to be a big hit to the public. However, when you look at the other 2 dive machines in the chain, Griffin and SheiKra, it really doesn't compare. It's shorter in height, duration, and speed. Now that doesn't mean it won't make a big splash in the market, it's just not as big as the other ones within the chain. Secondly, we have Manta, probably the park's standout coaster. There's nothing else in the chain like it, and for that reason, it gains the park major points. However, these 2 coasters are not going to be enough to stack up to parks with double the amount of coasters. So moving on to the number 4 spot is SeaWorld San Antonio. This park features one more coaster than SeaWorld San Diego. They include Great White, an inverted coaster, Journey to Atlantis, the water coaster, Steel Eel, a Morgan coaster, Grover's, which is a family coaster, Texas Stingray, which is a wooden coaster, and Wavebreaker, the rescue coaster, a family coaster. This park only has one duplicate coaster, which is Grover's. Technically, Journey to Atlantis could be considered a duplicate, but I already mentioned that they are different enough to be considered their own coaster. In all actuality, SeaWorld San Antonio has the worst one, so you could say for that, San Diego does get a point above San Antonio. However, we have 4 other unique coasters in San Antonio. I say unique because they're special to the chain. Of course, Great White is a Batman clone, but it's the only one within the chain, so it gets some points for that nonetheless. Combine that with Steel Eel, and you have enough to cover Emperor for SeaWorld San Diego. Now all that's left to beat is Manta. Texas Stingray can easily beat that with 1 coaster to spare. Wavebreaker is just an add-on that strengthens the lineup. So based on that, SeaWorld San Antonio definitely has the better lineup and is able to beat SeaWorld San Diego. Moving on to the middle of the list is SeaWorld Orlando. This park has the same amount of coasters as SeaWorld San Antonio. So I think the best way to go about comparing them is to put the coasters head to head. So we'll start with Journey to Atlantis. Both parks have one, as I already mentioned. And I also said that San Antonio's was the worst. And it just so happens that Orlando's is the best. So that's an easy point to the Orlando park. Next, we'll talk about the 2 inverting coasters, Great White and Kraken. As Great White is just a clone, it doesn't deliver the uniqueness or duration that Kraken does. So based on that, Kraken does get the point. How about we talk about the tallest coasters in each park? That would be Mako versus Steel Eel. And is it even a competition? So it's an easy point to Mako. The Grover coasters will cancel out. That leaves 2 at each park. We'll match the 2 so-called family coasters against each other. Wavebreaker versus Icebreaker. I think that's also an easy choice. Icebreaker gets the point. Finally, there's Texas Stingray versus Manta, the wooden coaster versus the flying coaster. If I were to choose between the 2, I would rather ride Texas Stingray. However, 1 versus 4 does not get San Antonio the win and easily puts Orlando in the 3rd spot. Coming in at the runner-up spot is Busch Gardens Tampa. This park features 10 roller coasters, easily beating the other 3 parks already mentioned. They range from family coasters to high-intensity thrill coasters, chain lifts to launches. This park really does have it all. Well, not really, just enough to make it a major thrill destination. The problem with this park is some of its fillers. Sand Serpent and Scorpion are smaller coasters that don't hold up against major coasters. They are good to have, but when one coaster can beat them out, they are really no help in this battle. To better understand this pick, I'm going to move into the number 1 spot. This will allow it to go head to head again. It will also give us a better idea of the holes in Tampa's lineup. So the number 1 park in the SeaWorld chain based on coaster collection is Busch Gardens Williamsburg. This park features 9 roller coasters. That is 1 less than Tampa, but quantity is not everything. First, let's remove the duplicates. Grovers are in both parks, so they're negligible, along with Tigris and Tempesto. Just a quick note though, Tempesto is worse than Tigris to me. Anyways, we'll start with the dive coasters. Griffin is the bigger and more modern one, so it takes the point. Next is Invader, the family wooden coaster. Tampa no longer has a wooden coaster, so I put some of the lower intensity rides against it. This is where Sand Serpent and Scorpion come in. They stand no chance, and it's an easy point to Williamsburg. Now the inverted coasters. Tampa will gain the point here due to Montu's dominance. Next is a very difficult matchup, Verbolten versus Cheetah Hunt. I think it's impossible to differentiate the two without diving into another video, so no points are going to be given. Moving on to the hypercoasters. Tampa lacks in this category. Iron Gauzy is technically a hypercoaster, but does not act like a traditional one like Apollo's Chariot is. Therefore, I don't think it's fair to give a point to either side. Instead, I'm just going to give a point to both for its uniqueness. And that leaves Pantheon versus Kumba. This is not a fair matchup either, but someone has to win this battle. So looking at the overall lineups, Williamsburg has fewer holes, which is why they're able to take the number 1 spot. Now, is this the order that I would put these parks in based on their overall experience? Probably not. I would switch Williamsburg and Tampa for sure, and maybe San Diego and San Antonio. That second switch is in the air because I've never been to San Diego before, but without the bias of personal experience, this is how the list pans out. SeaWorld San Diego at 5, SeaWorld San Antonio at 4, SeaWorld Orlando at 3, Busch Gardens Tampa at 2, and Busch Gardens Williamsburg at 1. And I think that's a good way to wrap up this video. What do you guys think of these rankings? Would you change any of them? I would love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.